Donald Herbert was born and raised with a rare determination, a combination of courage and a sense of duty that would shape his entire life. From a young age, the idea of protecting others fascinated him. His choice of the firefighting profession was not merely a career decision, it was a profound commitment to the lives of others, a silent promise to face risks that few would dare confront. Upon joining the Buffalo Fire Department, Herbert quickly distinguished himself. He was not just another firefighter, he was a respected veteran, someone whose experience in complex urban fires had become a benchmark within the department. His colleagues described him as meticulous, persistent, and endowed with a serene courage, the kind that manifests not in recklessness but in the quiet confidence of someone who has already faced chaos and remains steadfast. The Buffalo Fire Department operated in a city marked by old buildings, unpredictable fire patterns, and harsh winters that amplified daily challenges. Every emergency call carried the possibility of structural collapse, toxic smoke, and scenarios where seconds could mean the difference between life and death. For Herbert, each alarm was not merely a call to action. It was a test of skill, endurance, and judgment. Beyond his profession, Donald Herbert's life was intertwined with his family. Married and a devoted father, he maintained a deep connection with his children, balancing domestic responsibilities with the risks of a career that frequently pushed him to the edge of survival. This balance, often invisible to the outside world, was the foundation of his humanity. Courage at work, tenderness at home, and an unwavering commitment to those who depended on him, whether within the fire department or in his family. What drove Donald Herbert was not glory, nor the expectation of public recognition. It was the quiet commitment to saving lives, the sense of duty fulfilled by ensuring others returned safely to their loved ones. Every action, every decision within a fire reflected years of training, discipline, and refined courage, which did not manifest in grand gestures, but in precise choices under extreme pressure. As he prepared to respond to another call, the world knew little of the magnitude of the challenge ahead. Buffalo's urban landscape, with its fragile structures and unpredictable fires, left no room for error. And on that day, Herbert would find himself at a point where all the experience, courage, and resilience that defined him would be tested in ways no training could anticipate. At that moment, Donald Herbert's life was about to cross the line between survival and tragedy. The audience, until then familiar only with the man behind the uniform, would be invited to understand not only the firefighting profession, but the weight of every decision, every risk, and every moment that defines the boundary between routine and the impossible. The stage was set for an incident that would mark not only Herbert's life, but also everyone's perception of what it means to face fire and survive death. It was December 29, 1995, a frigid afternoon in Buffalo, New York. The air carried the characteristic winter moisture, and the winds from Lake Erie blew with intensity, cutting through any sense of comfort. For Donald Herbert and his colleagues at the Buffalo Fire Department, the day began like so many others, with the awareness that each call could become a test of skill, courage, and endurance. But on that day, no training, no prior experience could prepare Herbert for what was about to unfold. The call came at 3:20 p.m. A fire had been reported in a 3-story building in the city center, an old structure built decades earlier, with wooden beams and materials prone to rapid combustion. Herbert's team knew from experience that buildings like this were unpredictable. The combination of dry wood, old insulation, and worn electrical systems increased the possibility of collapses, heat explosions, and accelerated fire spread. When Donald arrived at the scene, the atmosphere was already tense. Smoke rose in dense, dark columns, partially obscuring the view of the street. The heat, intense even meters away, reminded everyone that time was the enemy. Every second counted, and the team needed to act with precision. Herbert immediately assumed his role, organizing the entry of his colleagues, assessing risk points, and determining the best access point for rescuing potential victims and controlling the flames. The fire advanced treacherously. Fueled by old furniture, it spread from room to room. The second-floor ceiling began showing signs of instability. Beams groaning under the heat, plaster particles falling, cracks and pops signaling the strain on the structure. For Herbert, constant assessment was crucial. Every movement inside the building demanded maximum attention and rapid decision-making. Then it happened. In a fraction of a second, what had seemed a distant threat became reality. The second-floor ceiling collapsed, crashing down onto Donald Herbert. The force of the impact was immediate and relentless, trapping him under heavy debris. The pressure on his chest stopped his breathing and caused an instant cardiac arrest. The sound of the collapse echoed through the building and onto the street, and the dense smoke made it impossible to visually locate Herbert immediately. His colleagues, trained for extreme emergencies, reacted without hesitation. Each firefighter knew that survival depended on speed, coordination, and precision. At great personal risk, they worked together, removing parts of the rubble, supporting unstable beams, creating enough space to reach Herbert. The tension was palpable. Each passing moment prolonged the danger, yet it was also critical to save their friend's life. When they finally managed to free him, Herbert was unconscious, his body compressed by the weight of the debris. First aid procedures began. Immediately, chest compressions, assisted ventilation, and continuous monitoring were applied as he was carefully transported to the ambulance. Every movement had to be meticulous. Any misstep could worsen his injuries and further decrease his chances of survival. On the way to the hospital, the emergency medical team continued treatment, balancing speed with precision, adjusting medications, stabilizing vital signs, and monitoring every heartbeat of Herbert. The situation was critical. Even with all their experience and medical skill, the combination of severe physical trauma and cardiac arrest created an extreme risk scenario. Yet amid the tension and fear, the team's determination remained unwavering. Upon arrival at the hospital, Herbert was immediately transferred to the trauma unit. Surgeons, nurses, and emergency physicians mobilized in unison. Initial care involved assessing fractures, controlling internal bleeding, providing respiratory support, and monitoring neurological function. Every decision made at that moment could mean the difference between life and death, and the teamwork, honed by training and experience, made it possible to keep Herbert alive, even when the odds were against him. The collapse left not only physical injuries, it marked the beginning of a journey no one could have anticipated. For Herbert, the minutes that followed meant the transition from an active firefighter to a critically ill patient, with his life dependent on precise medical care and the tireless dedication of everyone around him. For his colleagues, family, and the community, that accident would be the turning point that transformed the story of a courageous man into a narrative of resilience, hope, and medical mystery. And so, on that late winter afternoon, the world came to know Donald Herbert not merely as a veteran firefighter, but as someone whose fate had been temporarily suspended between life and death, poised to defy both medical and human expectations in the years to come. After the rescue and hurried transport to the hospital, Donald Herbert was immediately subjected to a comprehensive evaluation. The doctors, aware of the severity of the accident and the trauma he had suffered, diagnosed a prolonged cardiac arrest, followed by significant brain injuries. The impact of the collapse on his body, combined with inadequate oxygenation during the critical minutes, had caused profound neurological damage. Herbert entered a deep coma, a state in which the body remained alive, but consciousness seemed absent. Doctors explained to the family that in clinical terms, he was in a vegetative state. Reflexive movements could occur, but cognitive responses, conscious communication, or recognition of the environment would be extremely limited or non-existent. The prospects for recovery were uncertain. Medical statistics indicated that the longer a person remained in a vegetative state, the lower the chances of regaining full consciousness. The following period became a distressing routine for his family. Every day, his relatives visited the hospital, speaking to him, holding his hands, showing photographs, maintaining a silent and constant presence. To them, every small reaction, a blink of the eyes, a deeper breath, an involuntary movement, was interpreted as a sign of hope. Yet, at the same time, the absence of real communication maintained a painful barrier between the man they knew and the immobile body before them. During this time, Herbert depended on full intensive care. He required respiratory support, continuous cardiac monitoring, feeding through tubes, and strict control of infections and medical complications. Every medical procedure was carried out with meticulous precision, as even the slightest error could worsen his condition or put his life at risk. Nurses and doctors became the guardians of Herbert's life, maintaining the delicate balance between survival and deterioration while the world continued to turn around him. The neurological damage meant severe limitations. Areas of the brain responsible for memory, speech, and voluntary movement had been compromised. Doctors explained to the family that even in cases of awakening, many functions could remain permanently altered. Medical science, though advanced, offered few certainties, and the path ahead was largely unknown. For the family, life changed radically. The home, once filled with the ordinary routine of a father, husband, and friend, came to exist under the shadow of hospitals, appointments, and continuous care. Pain and frustration were constant, but hope never disappeared. They maintained daily conversations, narrated events in the world, spoke about the children growing up, friends, and moments Herbert could not witness. Every word was an anchor cast in the expectation that at some point he might emerge back into conscious life. The deep coma was not merely a medical state. It was a space where time, memory, and human perception were distorted. For Herbert, each passing second could have been an instant of minimal awareness or complete absence of conscious experience. For his family, each day was a mixture of anticipation and resignation, a silent battle against uncertainty, keeping alive the connection with a man who, despite being physically present, seemed lost between the boundaries of life and absence. And so the years began, marked by constant vigilance, dedicated care, and the persistent hope that somehow the man who had faced so many fires would survive the greatest challenge of all, the prolonged silence of body and mind. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months quickly into years. For nearly a decade, Donald Herbert remained in a state of minimal consciousness, trapped in a body that functioned automatically, but without meaningful interaction with the outside world. Clinical progress was slow and almost imperceptible. Every advancement was measured in millimeters. A detected reflex, an isolated blink, a deeper breath. For the doctors, these small manifestations were fragments of hope. For the family, each gesture was a painful reminder that he was still there, albeit unreachable. The hospital became an extension of the family's daily life. Intensive care routines continued. Constant neurological monitoring, physical therapy, infection prevention, complex medical adjustments, and interventions to minimize physical decline. Every procedure was meticulously planned, as any oversight could result in severe or irreversible complications. The medical team dedicated hours to vigilance and attempts to stimulate minimal responses, employing protocols based on prolonged coma studies, sensory stimulation techniques, and neurological rehabilitation approaches adapted to each tiny progress. Donald Herbert's condition was not isolated in the medical context, but it was extremely rare in terms of outcomes. Research indicated that patients in a vegetative coma for years had less than a 5% chance of significant recovery. Medical science documented cases of late awakenings, but these were exceptions, studied as almost miraculous phenomena. For specialists, each patient in a prolonged state became a living study of the limits of the human brain and the complex interaction between injury, brain plasticity, and continuous medical intervention. While Herbert remained in the hospital, the lives of his family revolved around a delicate routine of hope and reality. Each visit carried the expectation of signs of progress, but also the silent weight of stagnation. His parents, wife, children, and colleagues from the Buffalo Fire Department learned to persevere, developing extraordinary patience. Love and dedication became fundamental pillars, sustaining not only Herbert's life, but also the emotional well-being of everyone around him. Every conversation, every gesture, every hour spent beside him represented an attempt to maintain a human connection, even when it seemed non-existent. Media coverage began to intensify intermittently. Local newspapers, later national channels, reported the case as a story of courage, dedication, and family patience in the face of extreme adversity. The narrative of a heroic firefighter, immersed in years of silence, sparked public curiosity about the nature of the human mind and the limits of the body in the face of trauma. Specialists were consulted, discussing statistics, similar cases, and the science behind late awakenings. However, despite external attention, life within that prolonged period of coma was silent and intense. Every day demanded vigilance, care, and adaptation. For Herbert, each moment passed without clear communication with the world. For those who loved him, every day was an exercise in perseverance, a struggle between maintaining hope and accepting the uncertain reality of his condition. These years, silent and meticulous, laid the groundwork for the event that would change everything. It was a period in which the impossible became gradual, where science and human patience intertwined almost imperceptibly, creating a scenario in which a miracle, when it came, would be not only dramatic but profoundly human. It was April 30th, 2005, an ordinary day in the hospital routine of Buffalo, yet one that, without anyone's foresight, would become a historic milestone in the life of Donald Herbert and everyone around him. More than 9 years had passed since the accident that had changed his life. 9 years of constant vigilance, meticulous care, and quiet hope sustained by his family and medical team. 9 years in which time seemed suspended for Herbert, trapped in a state between existence and absolute silence. On that day, something began to change. Small signs, almost imperceptible, started to manifest. A subtle movement of the fingers, a longer blink, a minimal reaction to external stimuli. Signs that might have seemed irrelevant to many, but to doctors and family represented the first concrete evidence of an emerging connection between body and mind. The team, initially cautious, realized that Donald Herbert was not merely responding, but recognizing elements of his immediate environment. When his wife entered the room, a moment of anticipation transformed into silent shock. Herbert opened his eyes more firmly, fixing his gaze on her. It was as if suddenly, the years of silence dissolved into an instant of pure perception. He recognized his children, understood their names, and expressed surprise at the growth he had not witnessed. The recognition was not merely physical, it was cognitive, emotional, and immediate. For the family, it was a moment of pure revelation. The man who seemed lost had returned, not only present in body, but conscious in thought. For 14 consecutive hours, Herbert engaged in continuous dialogue with his family. Questions arose naturally about the time that had passed, about the children, about the outside world he had missed. Every answer he received was a reconstruction of the past, an attempt to reintegrate into a reality that had advanced without him. Doctors, family members, and specialists watched with admiration and caution, aware that every word and gesture were living proof of the human mind's resilience in the face of severe neurological damage. For the doctors, the event defied scientific expectations. Awakenings so late after years in a deep vegetative state were extremely rare, almost non-existent in documented statistics. Neuroscientists and brain trauma specialists studied the case closely, recognizing that, although rare, it demonstrated that under exceptional circumstances, the brain could re-establish lost connections and restore cognitive functions with surprising intensity. The emotion in the room was palpable. There was no exaggeration in stating that every moment carried the dramatic tension of a reunion with life. Surprise, joy, and astonishment intertwined in every expression of Herbert and his family. Every word spoken was a reconstructed link between past and present. Every gesture a reminder of the fragility and simultaneous strength of the human condition. Donald Herbert's awakening was not merely a medical phenomenon. It was a profoundly human event, a testament to the perseverance, patience, and unconditional love of everyone around him. It was proof that even after years of absolute silence, the human mind could astonish, defy expectations, and reveal an inner strength that transcends time, adversity, and science itself. On that day, after more than 9 years, Donald Herbert returned to full existence, albeit temporarily, in a world that had advanced without him. The narrative of his life, interrupted by a devastating accident, began to be rewritten, showing that even in the darkest scenarios, hope, dedication, and courage could create moments of true redemption. Donald Herbert's awakening brought immediate relief and joy, but it also revealed a complex and challenging reality. Despite regaining consciousness and the ability to communicate, he continued to face significant physical and cognitive limitations. Movements that were once automatic now required conscious effort. Simple tasks such as walking or coordinating his arms became constant challenges. Speech, though restored, needed to be retrained to regain clarity and rhythm. Herbert's daily routine changed radically. To ensure his safety and well-being, he was transferred to a specialized long-term care facility where continuous attention was essential. Healthcare professionals constantly monitored his vital signs, adjusted medical interventions, and provided physiotherapy and cognitive support. Each day was structured around therapies, exercises, and detailed supervision, creating an environment that balanced stimulation with protection. Despite the progress, full recovery remained out of reach. Permanent neurological damage meant that certain functions would never return to the level they had before the accident. Doctors explained that even in the face of an awakening considered miraculous, the reality of lasting effects was inevitable. Herbert's body and mind would carry permanent scars, silent reminders of the severity of the trauma he had endured. For his family and those close to him, this period became an exercise in adaptation and acceptance. They celebrated every advancement but understood that life, though reconstructed, would never be exactly the same. The miracle of his awakening was, simultaneously, a testament to the strength of human resilience and a lesson on the limits of the body and mind in the face of severe injury. Donald Herbert's case remains a narrative that intertwines hope with reality. It demonstrates that medical miracles can occur, but it also underscores that recovery, even when possible, involves permanent challenges and profound changes to daily life. It is a testament to the complexity of human existence, the courage required to face extreme adversity, and the importance of the dedication, patience, and love of those who remain by the side of someone striving to reclaim their life. Donald Herbert's story transcended the walls of the hospital and spread across the world as a profound example of human complexity and resilience. His journey was not merely an account of survival, it became a reference point for how commitment, science, and family dedication can interact to challenge seemingly immutable medical expectations. Public recognition followed swiftly. Books detailing his life, documentaries exploring each stage of his journey, and interviews with family members and colleagues allowed the world to understand not only the man but the context of his experience. Each account sought to capture the essence of his quiet courage, the determination of healthcare professionals, and the unwavering patience of those who stood by him. These narratives were not simplistic. They were carefully constructed to convey the nuances of pain, hope, and fascination in the face of the unexpected. For countless families of coma patients, Herbert's case became a source of inspiration and reflection. It demonstrated that even in the face of discouraging statistics and grim diagnoses, the possibility of recovery, however small, can never be dismissed. This awareness brought strength to those living in uncertainty, encouraging daily persistence, patience, and prolonged dedication, qualities often underestimated in the experience of severe neurological conditions. From a medical perspective, his story offered profound lessons. It highlighted the importance of prolonged care, continuous monitoring, and multidisciplinary approaches. It illustrated unequivocally that science cannot always predict absolute limits, and that the plasticity of the human brain, even after years of inactivity, can result in unexpected recoveries. The case became a reference for clinical studies, academic discussions, and rehabilitation protocols, reaffirming that each patient must be treated with singular attention and grounded hope. Ultimately, Donald Herbert's legacy is more than a record of a late awakening. It is a testament to silent courage, extreme resilience, and the human impact one life can have even in the face of the most severe adversity. His story challenges conventional perceptions of limits, inspires respect for medical science, and reminds us all that life, even when fragmented by trauma, possesses an extraordinary capacity for reconstruction. What endures decades later is not merely the memory of an accident or years spent in a coma, but the understanding that Herbert embodied something universal, the unwavering struggle between vulnerability and strength, silence and expression, despair and hope. He demonstrated that even when everything seems lost, the human spirit, supported by love, dedication, and science, can transcend barriers, redefine possibilities, and leave an indelible mark on the world.